Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. It has been the endeavor of so many judges of this country's Supreme Court who've spoken on and off on the need to promote mediation in India. Of course, we see that the efforts have borne some fruit because in this country, with the kind of caseload that we all are seeing, it is difficult to dispose of cases unless ADR measures like mediation are resorted to. We also have a country like the United States of America, which has a very successful mediation system. So where have we reached as far as mediation is concerned in India? And what are the lessons that we can learn from the United States of America? We're going to discuss that today. I have a very eminent panel which comprises of age and experience and the youth who are going to be working in this domain in the coming years. May I introduce to you Veena Ralli. She joins us on the show for the first time. Good to see you, ma'am. She's a senior mediator, organizing secretary of Samadhan, which is Delhi High Court's Mediation and Conciliation Center. I have with me Nandini Gore. She's a familiar face on the show. She's senior partner with Karanjawala and Company, one of India's leading litigation law firms. Preeti Suri, I'm seeing after a long time. She was with us, I think, a couple of years ago. She's managing partner of PSA Legal. Good to see you, Preeti, and looking forward to some interesting comments from you. I have with me Advocate Alia Waziri, who you saw some time back on the show. Alia, good to see you again. I have with me on the show Prachi Dubey, who also joined us for the first time. Good to see you, Prachi, and looking forward to some interesting interventions and data points from your end. First come first, I'll request Ma'am Veena Ralli to make her introductory comment before we move on. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Tarun, for giving me this opportunity also, because mediation is the talk of the day these days, particularly in our legal system. You know, when the mediation was introduced in 2005, rightly said by you, because the docket was very heavy and it was difficult for our judicial system to take on the burden. But gradually the journey has been such a beautiful journey, which brings basically acrimony of the parties into harmony. And nowadays, at this point of time, I can say when Singapore Convention has been signed and we are looking at some legislation also coming, in these 15 years, mediation has been taken as the most appropriate method of redressal of disputes between the parties instead of an alternative dispute redressal mechanism. So I think we have a beautiful journey, and it's going to be beautiful further.
Okay, I'll go to Ma'am Nandini Gore. Of course, I remember our discussions with the mediation bill and you had very strong views, and I think we had done a show then. Your opening comment, ma'am.
Tarun, my opening comments are like this, which will remain the same and static, but I feel that we should not compare India with America, because in America, the mediations, the wave started with Justice Warnerberger in 1960, whereas in India now, as per Madam Ralli said, that it started in 2009, though before that, 129th Law Commission report was there in the year 1988 when Malimat committee was formed, and the committee said that there is a lot of docket explosion going on and many matters are lingering, and a simple suit in the lower goes to the High Court, then it comes to the Supreme Court, so God knows when the matter will be decided. Thereafter, Justice Lahoti in the year 2005 said that we should have a mediation and conciliation committee and a project should be started. Then, of course, there was an amendment in Section 89 and the process started with Salem 1, Salem 2, then AFCON. So what I feel is India is doing a lot of progress. Now the bill is pending and it can be an act anytime. So we are on a progressive mode. And I am very, very positive that mediation will take the major chunk of the problems between litigants. And again, I will repeat at the stake of repetition that the government agencies and the government offices should also felicitate mediation and try mediation. Thank you.
Government offices should also facilitate mediation. I'll go to Ma'am Preeti Suri. She is managing partner, PSA Associates. Preeti Suri, over to you.
Thanks, Tarun. I think I really agree with some of the comments that have been made by the other panelists so far. I personally feel that mediation is it's an absolute necessity. It's not even just a need of the hour, but I think given the burden that we have in our court system and given the tendency of active litigants to actually want to go all the way up to the Supreme Court should they decide to do so, the burden on the system is massive. And I think mediation is one tool that can actually facilitate business disputes, that can facilitate disputes at so many levels in such an effective manner. And, historically, I think mediation has always been a part of our system. If you look back before law was what we know it in the present day and age, we had the village panchayats, right? Then I remember when I was a young, probably getting into law school, Lok Adalats started to become the norm at that stage. And so, it's been there inherent in our system at various levels. And I think, organizations like Samadhan, particularly in the Delhi High Court, and their other bodies in other high courts are starting to do I should not say starting, actually, I think they're doing a great job. And I can say some of that from the direct experience as well. But I think, we all have to change our perception about mediation. Mediation has to, anyone who's opting for mediation has to do it with a non-adversarial mindset. And with this whole idea that they are going to find a solution to whatever is the dispute that's going on between the parties. There's a lot of reticence also, I feel, on this subject, because there are some litigants who probably are more comfortable with a formal, even though prolonged litigation process versus an informal process where they don't necessarily know that they can trust everybody who's there.
Thank you for that input. I'll go to Advocate Alia Waziri for her introductory comment.
Thank you, Tarun. I agree with all that has been said, but I will quickly make one factual sort of reference. As of January 2021, there are about almost 3.5 crore cases pending in India's lower judiciary. And as of August 2022, I know this is slightly old, but in a written reply to the Parliament, the Department of Justice and the Ministry of Law and Justice had said that the Supreme Court itself has 62,000 cases of its own. And of course, Justice Ramana recently highlighted that mediation has to be made a mandatory first step in domestic dispute resolution. I think we have to understand when we're talking about America that India is not one of the most litigious countries. We are not like Germany. We are not like Sweden. So the problem lies deeply rooted with our judge to population ratio. This is what carves out the ever expanding scope for mediation as a cheaper, faster and reliable means of redressal. So, and of course, I agree with all that has been said, but I do feel that it is now the time post 2009 that we look at state-funded mediation, distinct from court-mandated mediation at the trial court level, to leverage what community effort can do when it comes to solving disputes from as opposed to cantankerous and exhausting litigation.
Thanks for that input. The judge population ratio being a point. I'll go to Prachi Dubey for her introductory comments. Prachi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nangia, for having me. Everything has already been said. I would just like to add one point over here, that in 1988, after the 129th Law Commission report, Justice Malimath Committee report had already said that parties should be encouraged to refer to alternate dispute resolution. And we have seen throughout 2011 as well as 2015 that there has been major success rate in mediation and settlement of such disputes. Such should be taken further. And yes, the Chief Justice's words that the court should be used as a last resort should definitely be taken in mind.
Okay, thanks for that input, Prachi. I'll go to Ma'am Veena Ralli now. Ma'am, 2 points. I remember Justice Arjun Kumar Sikri telling me that one mediated settlement in the Punjab and Haryana state, where a certain sister who had 5 brothers, she had to fly down from Canada for every date, and finally it was mediated and settled within less than a week. I think there will be many cases where a lot of litigants have to travel great distances. And in many cases, if the amount is not much, then the cost of litigation exceeds what is at stake. Do you think, given that aspect, that Indians as a community are not very rich, there are few among us who are rich, but Indians as a whole don't have that much money to spend on litigation? Do you think mediation comes as a boon, but it's yet not widely accepted? And that is a problem that we face today as a society, that the courts and the judges are burdened. We hear these stories of some judges sitting up to 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m. And when I speak to some of the judges in the United States and the UK, they happen to tell me that we are amazed the kind of so many cases the judges are hearing in a single day. We can't imagine doing more than 2, 3 at best. Your views on why we have not been successful to that extent, and what can be done to make it a success story for this country?
Tarun, I must tell you one thing, that when we began, more particularly in 2005, it took us time to pick up.
Okay.
But in our system, judicial system, the legal system, the judges themselves supported mediation a lot. As you said, Justice Sikri, Justice Sanjay Bhushan Kaul, Justice Manmohan, and many more judges of our Delhi High Court and various courts, they have always been very supportive to the mediation process. And rather, how the mediation starts. The mediation does not start with the mediator. The mediation starts because in our system, in Indian judicial system, mediation was first introduced and accepted as court-annexed mediation centers. Yes. So mediation starts with the judge. When he sends the parties to the mediation center, he prepares them. He prepares them that there's nothing new which is going to happen. It is a part of the judicial system. It is acknowledged, as even Nandini talked about Section 89. It is a mandated system. And when the settlement takes place in the mediation center with the trained, skilled mediator, it comes back to the court. The yes. court accepts it, the court passes an order on it, and it becomes a final order and decree, which is written by the parties themselves. Okay. So the system, the mediation process starts with the court itself, from the referral court, and it ends also with the referral court. That's the beauty of our system, because people generally had been, so far, rightly said by you, had been depending upon some third person for decision-making process. In our system, I will see you in court, the judge will decide for me. So it took time to change the perspective of the people, the litigant mainly, and also the lawyer's attitude. And I must tell you, at Samadhan, as Preeti also spoke about Samadhan, we are getting the maximum support from the lawyers to bring the matters from court to the mediation center. And I must say, with a lot of appreciation from the lawyers community, lawyers bring matters even at the pre-litigation stage, before approaching court. So when the party is getting some, you can say, see, in the mediation process, basically parties want the justice in today's time. We are also, we are providing a service as mediators. Justice is being provided to them at the earliest, and the needs are being addressed. In the legal system, litigation system, it takes time, and sometimes even needs are still not addressed. A judge may pass an order, maybe then tomorrow there is an appeal, and then people want to fight till the end. That is up to a pitch court. But do they really get what they want? That is possible in our system as a mediation process is acknowledged. But I must endorse that, and I appreciate and I'm thankful to our judicial system, the judges who are starting the mediation process while referring the parties, preparing them, and accepting the settlements back. So a lot of support is from the bench and the bar. So it's a blend, and particularly Samadhan is a blend of bench and the bar. It is run also by lawyers. So a lot of confidence is with the lawyers, by the lawyers, and you can understand parties, clients, litigants always depend upon their lawyers. When they show them the path towards Samadhan, they come, they look at the system, they help themselves, and they help their opponent also. And particularly during COVID, when it became difficult for the parties even to reach court, even to reach a lawyer, online system was provided by our Delhi High Court by June 2020 itself. And litigants were very happy, and our success rate has been great during that time, because WebEx system was provided. It was easily accessible to most of the people, and even from the vicinity, from villages also, parties have always been approaching, and they have gone satisfied and very happy. And word is traveling from lawyer to lawyer. More lawyers are bringing their clients first try mediation, then go for litigation if by chance you do not get what you need today.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that comment. I'll go to Nandini Gore from Karanjawala and Company. Ma'am, it is said dispute resolution is a service. You're in the service industry, and what we provide, in a sense, is service when we allow the clients that come to reach dispute resolution faster. But India, we face a unique social aspect that the spending power of most litigants is not as much. Do you think mediation should at least be a big success story there? Of course, there are big disputes where mediation has helped. I agree. But do you think the bulk of the matters can be taken and the courts will get relief from that endeavor? And do you think what is stopping the numbers from going up?
Tarun, I have heard what Mrs. Ralli was saying. I have some, different views. What I say is the courts are burdened. All the courts, right from lower court, high court till Supreme Court, the courts are burdened. At the same time, the courts are sending, I don't know about the lower courts and the high court, that I do know that many of the judges, they are supportive. In Supreme Court also they are supportive. But I am saying that they are not doing any favor on the mediation society as such, because they have seen that these people are sitting, they are all experts in their field, and they should set maximum matters. What I see is usually, I am again not commenting or criticizing anybody, with due respect, I am saying that usually matrimonial matters are sent to the mediation center, and big commercial matters are not sent to the mediation centers. They are sent to some private mediator or some retired judge. What I have seen with my experience of last so many years in the Supreme Court, and with some responsibility, I am saying that. So what I say is, you please keep sending bulk of matters. For example, if a judge is having 30 or 40 or 50 matters on a miscellaneous day with them, while reading or their paralegal is there, so they can find out which type of matters. For example, they start with the rent control matter, custody matters, matrimonial matter, commercial matters also. Try and sending a percentage of matters from every court to the mediation center, and then give it a try. Because if you look into the ratio of time spent for a litigation, for a matter to be litigated, you just see, I was just calculating, it takes around 10 years from the lower court to the Supreme Court. Now, 10 years, energy of the client, money of the client, energy of the lawyer, maybe the lawyers are pocketed, that's a different thing. But, and then after that, if you get to the arbitration also takes a lot of time, though the Arbitration Act now says that you have to decide a matter in a particular, but then a decree has to be enforced. Many complications are there, and that also take around 1 to 2 years. Whereas mediation is a speedy process. Now, if you go to the mediation centers, the fees is very, very less, and all type of clients can afford it. So what I feel is that the judges at every level, at every court, they should send a percentage of matters to the mediation center. Then it can be decided, or if the mediator feels that matter cannot be decided, he can always send the matter to the respective court. That is my view on this. Second thing I am saying, that let the act come now. In USA, they have private mediation centers. So after this act comes, there are provisions for not only court annexed mediation, but different mediation centers. For example, now the Hyderabad Mediation Center has started. So the matters will be sent to these centers. And, the people who are, what Tarun, you rightly said, that there is a community who is rich, and they don't want to go to the mediation center, because what they feel is, if there is a particular case where there is a law of land decided, now they feel that I can take any senior counsel or any law firm or anybody and try my luck in the court by spending money. But at the same time, if they see that there is a private mediation center, where some established mediators who are experienced are running that center, they can definitely go there and try that. And rightly so, like what Mrs. Ralli said, that now online mediations are also there. So all stature of people can go to this mediation center. But what I personally feel, this is my personal view looking into the scenario which is going on, that every judge should set a percentage of matter mediation center. Thank you.
Thank you for that. In a sense, explaining in brief and frank views as always. I'll go to Preeti Suri at this point. Ma'am, as a law firm, clients come and enlist not one, but maybe 5 dozen, 6 dozen matters, 60, 80 matters. Do you think law firms also play a role in saying that, okay, out of these 60, 70 matters that say PSA has got, okay, 10 or 12 can be mediated, the rest can be in litigation. For some, let us try arbitration. Do you think law firms will also have to play a role in this?
Absolutely, Tarun. I think law firms have to play a role, and I will just take a little, leaf out of what Mrs. Ralli said, because I do want to talk about the role of lawyers in this whole process. I think so. Law firms per se will have to, or actually ought to, even if they are not doing it right now, they have to suggest mediation not only at a point in time when a proposed dispute comes to them, or even at the stage of contracting. When you're advising a particular client on contracting, which essentially means that you're telling them the accuracy of what the legal system means, what does it involve in terms of the actual cost of litigation and the stages of litigation. I think that's very important. Law firms can play a massive role over there. But I'd actually like to step back a little bit over here. And I think part of the apprehension that is there around mediation, other than what the other panelists have said so far, I think is the lack of sort of awareness. And perhaps I think it is important that mediation is taught, people are made more aware about it, and it's actually taught in law schools also, so that the future generation, when they are looking at litigation as a practice, they can also look at mediation as an absolute preferred method of resolution. Coming back to the point that you were asking, and I'd just like to draw a little bit of a parallel over here with the US as well. In the US, it is absolutely imperative in some states, and definitely it's an internal mandate in multiple large national or tier 1 kind of law firms, where they are, they have specialized mediators who are working in law firms as well. And so, mediation and lawyers per se, they are not, they cannot be working in isolation. They have to be working with each other in tandem. So if we have to ease out the burden on the courts, law firms have to play a very, very strong role. And I think litigators also have to play a very strong role. And
one quick comment from you, Preeti, before I move on. Say if there is a construction dispute which involves construction of a highway. Now, what happens primarily is that very small disputes crop up even while the contract is being enforced. At that point, it becomes essential that those disputes are sorted out quickly, even while the contract, in a sense, of building the road is being, in a sense, enforced. Do you think mediation should be used more effectively there to solve disputes as they occur, not hampering the project which is going on? Because we see primarily in construction projects, this happens.
Yeah, because you see, the moment parties will come together and outside of the formal court system to resolve a particular dispute, so that a long drawn out or an infrastructure project does not get obstructed, it's the only way. It is the only way, other than simply going to the courts and getting stuck in processes. I mean, as Nandini pointed out, the kind of duration that it takes from the lowest court all the way up to the Supreme Court, 10 years is a given. Okay, and what happens when there is money at stake and the one party actually wants that money in their bank accounts? At what stage do you actually collect on the basis of a dispute? You keep on spending endlessly without actually recovering. And it really defeats me when people don't understand the efficacy of mediation as really a massive tool that can allow businesses to continue to operate as businesses and channelize their energies in that direction.
Yes, because I think a lot of companies go bankrupt also, doing litigation where money is stuck. But that's for another day. I'll go to Alia Waziri. Alia, you pointed out 2 things in your last answer. One was the pendency of 3.5 crore cases. You spoke about 62,000 in the Supreme Court and the judge population ratio. Now, I want to ask you this, especially on mediation. Do you think that, though there have been some attempts, but it has not been pushed to the point where it is seen as an accepted practice? And let me explain this. A lot of businessmen say in this city of Faridabad, there are hundreds of small scale businesses. Now, these businesses don't have the money power to go for full scale litigation, but they not been explained that you mediate and settle quickly all your small matters, while for the big matters where you can go and litigate. Do you think the awareness is also missing as far as the business community is concerned? And that is why commercial cases land up in courts, even while companies continue to suffer, default on their loans. And more often than, after the COVID period, there was this whole talk that I heard that people are shying from litigation because it's too expensive. Your views on all this?
Yeah, Tarun, you said something very interesting, which is, I'm going to fixate on the word awareness and advocacy. Now, we all know that things changed post 2009, and why I'm going to talk about the Delhi Dispute Resolution Society is because we are looking at mediation as a easy, accessible, cost-free method. Here, you're talking about businesses who ideally do not have that much that they can invest in mediation, or they're unaware of the fact that there is a mechanism that you can access, which is completely cost-free. There is a reason it's called state-funded mediation. Now, the interesting thing about Delhi, which I think we learned from Singapore, when it comes to the community mediation charter, theirs was in 97. They did something very interesting. They modeled their mediation on the community's needs, which is something we already have. So there exists a DDRS, Delhi Dispute Resolution Center, which is completely state funded. There is a problem of advocacy and awareness about it. While we are talking about advocacy and awareness, we also have to understand that one of the biggest problems and constraints in Delhi is that of physical space. So if we are to truly garner a large number of people substantially towards mediation, the obvious requisite of this enhancement is that we need larger number of spaces available. Let's say there's advocacy, there's awareness of all these people who want to access mediation. The problem will still exist of the number of people who can access this. Justice Chandrachud said something very interesting in one of his lectures, that mediation is a means to avoid the pitfalls of litigation. Now, the operative idea here is for mediation to operate as a forum which can bypass completely the arrears of the court. Now, that will only happen, let's say, if a quarter of the 1.6 crore population in Delhi were to someday miraculously say, I want to resort to mediation. Then the existing strength of mediation centers, whether it be Samadhan, whether it be the DDRS, may be inadequate to cater to the 40 lakh, the quarter of 1.6, 40 lakh people approaching these centers. So not only is there an advocacy and awareness problem, even if we were to solve the advocacy and awareness problem, there are still some hurdles that exist, some logistical hurdles that exist.
Okay, thanks for that input. I'll go to Prachi at this point. Prachi, many times I have noticed that small businesses, when they have disputes, they litigate for 2-3 years. They realize that it's not worth because it's not affordable. Then you mediate and you settle. But that realization takes quite a lot of time. The courts wouldn't be burdened as much if the realization came early. Do you think awareness is the missing link, that clients themselves are not ready many times to mediate? They say, no, I just want to litigate, because there is a certain feeling and deference. Rightfully so, we have to the courts. And that's why people want everything from the judge. The judge should give the order. Primarily, a businessman would always say, no, let's get it from the courts. Do you think that attitude, even from the client side, needs to change, which are mainly smaller businesses, medium MSME businesses?
Definitely, Tarun, because whenever you speak to somebody, they will just say that I'll see you in court or we'll go through a litigation. How many people do actually know that mediation is actually gaining importance and popularity in this legal society these days? And even after that, even if the businesses and at the grassroots level, people are very aware that there is a mediation, people generally feel that they have to pay something or the other. Something might be way above somebody's pocket or something might be under their pocket. But at the same time, even the lawyers and the retired judges are not willing to go and sit as a mediator or an arbitrator, especially a mediator, because they are underpaid. You are getting around 25 to 30,000 for one day. After getting retired as a judge or as a lawyer, why would somebody go into mediation and help a party out, even if the judges are recommending the parties to go for mediation? They aren't getting paid enough. But at the same time, everybody over here, even through, you say, Bollywood movies or the soap operas, everybody is just saying that there are courts over there. There is tariq pe tariq, all of that shenanigan that goes on. So it is the liability of the media and the liability of the courts as well to promote it and to reach it out to the grassroots level for awareness. I would like to draw something from the US system over here. In the US, according to CEDR's 2018 report, there are around 75 to 80% settlements that take place on the day of the mediation itself, and 10 to 15% afterwards, like shortly after that, maybe a month or a two within it. It does not go on for a long duration of time. And at the same time, in the US, the mediation is free. There goes one very major hesitation of the parties, that they have to pay a lot to the mediator or somewhere else. It is free and it is very accessible to everybody. So I think a lot of things have to be kept in mind before just passing out any statement. And one has to actually think from a layman's and a normal person's perspective as to how they can be helped. Because we as law persons, we will very much be knowing and be very knowledgeable that these are the gray areas, these are the white areas, we can do this, we can do that. But when people don't really know about their fundamental rights and duties, like till date, majority of the people don't know about it. How does one expect them to directly go for mediation?
Point well taken. And I'm taking this to Ma'am Veena Ralli for one last comment. See, sitting in the national capital, of course, there'll be more awareness on everything. I mean, because of course, this is the national capital. Do you think at the pan-India level, awareness needs to be, in a sense, more at the client's end or the litigator's end more than here, that the demand should be there for mediation? Of course, supply will come in response to demand. Do you think that awareness is not yet come? If you see, because if you go to Toothukudi or if you go to Tirupur, these are textile hubs of India. How much of mediation happens there? And these are big companies there. I mean, of course, not the mega corporations, but they are all doing tens and 100 crores of turnover, and there are thousands of such units. They all have disputes. Do you think that awareness needs to come?
Yes, Tarun, I absolutely agree with you. There is a lot to be done. We have traveled a lot, but there is a lot to be done, particularly keeping in mind the awareness amongst the litigant, and particularly for small causes, basically, as MSME Act has taken care of, and they have talked about conciliation. So let us not get into that issue right now. We can talk about that little later. But of course, awareness is very much important. And just picking up from Preeti, that law schools, I must tell you that in all the law schools, most of the law schools, they have got ADR as a subject, and mediation was being taught to the students earlier. Now, most of the law colleges are holding even training programs, 40 hours training programs, certificate training programs, even for their students. So whenever they come out of the law schools, whether it is here in Delhi or anywhere in India, those students know about mediation. So far as lawyers community is concerned, they will definitely come to know sooner from the judicial system as such, because in most of the states, particularly in remote areas, but Leh and Ladakh, and as you said, Tripura, and other states, where lawyers and judicial officers will make litigant aware about the mediation. So it has to come out from this source where the litigant is being approached and is being guided. But at the same time, lot is to be done. And as told by Prachi also, lot is to be done by the government level, at the government level, lot is to be done through media. And all of us must ensure that this service is provided to all the litigants who are looking for some type of relief, because I must say one thing more. Earlier, mediation was perceived as important only for matrimonial issues, but I here disagree with one of my panelists, particularly Nandini, as she said that even in commercial matters, everywhere mediation can be tried, is being tried, and I'm with you, Tarun. We must reach up to remote corners of our India where every litigant gets the benefit of this mediation, where relationships are valued and they feel whether this relationship is commercial, family relationship, personal relationship, or organizational relationship, where their needs are addressed at the initial stage itself and without dragging the parties, without dragging the conflict people in conflict to litigation and prolonged mode of litigation. Awareness is must, lot is to be done.
Thank you so much for those inputs. We'll now do a mediation show twice every month, basically spreading more awareness, also getting more input, especially on the commercial sides, because that is where the wheels of the economy are oiled. All businesses want faster dispute resolution. And these days we see multiple cases, so many contracts which are being enforced. If you say, take the case of NHAI contracts, how many disputes occur when each contract is being implemented and how much money gets stuck, how much banks and PSUs are in trouble. We will take all of that in the coming months, but that's it for now. I would like to thank Ma'am Veena Ralli, Nandini Gore from Karanjawala and Company, Preeti Suri, Managing Partner, PSA Associates, Advocate Alia Waziri, Prachi Dubey for making time and joining on this very important issue. Thank you so much, viewers, for tuning in. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Tarun.
Thank you. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.